Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
One pill makes you larger and one pill makes you small. And the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice when she's 10 feet tall.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Culture of Change. It's been a weird day, and we're going to talk about it.
Been a long day.
How are you? How was your day?
Good. I was doing a lot of errands, doing a lot of loose ends, everything around the house, that kind of a day. It was good. But then, I was like keeping track on what you were doing, and man, you were busy. Like, when did you start? How long were you there? Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
I got picked up at 6:30 by my friend Charity, and Mike was having a press conference outside the courthouse at 7:45, so he wanted to be there. Daniel started football practice today, so I had to get him over to the high school at 6:30 and then rush back to meet Charity, and I had like half my makeup done. So
Nice.
I'm like rushing back, and then Daniel calls me and he's like, I forgot my helmet.
No.
Yeah. So we ended up getting down there like right around 7:45, and I joined Zach and Brian on Daily this morning and had, the press conference behind so people can kind of imagine what the outside of the courthouse looked like. And then, we went in, and it was the exact same courtroom, just 2 floors up, that I was in a year ago. So that was a whole thing,
Did you get like anxiety, or did you get like just this dread?
So I had a lot of anxiety before we got there. Being back at that courthouse, there's a lot of people that I was expecting to see, some that I did, some that I didn't, that I haven't seen in a long time. And so I had some anxiety, but I'm so glad that I went. And I really want to go back tomorrow. And I have so much going on tomorrow that I'm trying to shuffle everything around. If I do, we're going to push the first episode of Overruled Book Club to the following week. Because, this is happening now. So Brian and I were talking about that earlier. We'll make a call on it tonight, but I want to go back. I want to be there for every second of it.
And you're doing good coverage. You're
Oh,
doing
thanks.
like in depth each, it seemed to me, question by question, at least, in a ballpark. And it looks like it was really in depth, a lot of time. There's some breaks. There was a lot of switching of the jury. That was something that I thought
Yeah,
was
that was really
interesting.
interesting. I've seen jury selection on like watching court proceedings on live stream, but I've never been there for it, and that was really interesting. We're going to talk about all of it. We're going to go through the thread. We're going to go through the motion in limine. That's going to be the show tonight. One, because it's important and it's happening now, and two, because they didn't have time to prepare another show. We have like a bunch of raw stuff that we were going to talk about this week, but usually I pull that into a show plan and didn't. So we're going to talk about this. The show notes for tonight's show, including the link to the motion limine and everything, will be up later because I have to write it still. And there'll be updates in tomorrow's brief. I think I'm going to try and join Brian and Ghost. It's Ghost on Tuesdays, right? Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
Tomorrow. But yeah, I'm gonna try. It's a lot. So
You're a
my
busy woman.
husband is out of town right now. I know your husband is out of town right now as well.
Yep.
My husband is out of town, and I got home, and it looks like a bomb went off, and like none of the chores that I told him to do were done, and so it's going to be a lot to try and get it done, but I really do want to be there. I feel like it's really important. But yeah, we're going to go through all of the things today. And before we do that, let's hear from our first sponsor.
Experience the miracle of a God-given first responder for your health and an ally in your body that fights everything from minor ailments to major health threats. That ally is your immune system. At Pet Club 24/7, we harness the ancient wisdom of nature with our exclusive potent strain of medicinal mushroom, revered for thousands of years for their immune-supporting properties that are extremely safe with no addictions or overdoses, no side effects, and no interactions with medications. Transform how you manage your health with our all-natural products that help Pet Club change the world one pet and one person at a time. Elevate your pet's health game and yours with our natural, time-tested solution and explore how we are redefining wellness for both pets and people. Transform how you manage health with our all-natural products and help Pet Club change the world one pet and one person at a time. Elevate your pet's health game and yours with our all-natural, time-tested solution and explore how we are redefining wellness for both pets and people. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/petclub now. That's badlandsmedia.tv/petclub, treating pets and their parents better.
All right, badlandsmedia.tv/pet club. That's a decent Father's Day idea if you're still looking for Father's Day gifts coming up. I think it's next Sunday, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, Father's Day is next Sunday, which brings us to our second sponsor of tonight's show, Manly Cans. Oh, is this a read?
Oh,
Look who's back. It's Manly Cans, and just in time for Father's Day. Manly Cans is the ultimate destination for spoiling the guys with the cool stuff they actually want. Each Manly Can has an experience and even has a greeting card that doubles as a coaster. Customize your Manly Can to fit his personality. Choose from a wide variety of cans, and during checkout, add additional items to make it just right for him. Spoil all the dads in your life. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/manlycans. That's badlandsmedia.tv/manlycans. And use promo codes BadlandsMedia. Promo code BadlandsMedia for free shipping on purchases over $50. One more time, badlandsmedia.tv/manlycans. Promo code BadlandsMedia. All right.
Those look pretty cool. I've been tempted.
They are. I bet it was either last Father's Day or the Father's Day before that. I got one, and for Matt, and all of them were fighting over it.
Nice. See, that's a good sign.
Yeah. No, they're great. Really, really well made. The container, whichever one you get, the container that it comes in is a reusable. Like I have a.
Didn't they have like an ammunition container? See, oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Speak of the devil.
So
that's
cool.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
super
They're
awesome.
very cool. Men love them. They love opening them. They love all the things inside. So that's a great option for Father's Day. Whatever you do, Father's Day is like next Sunday. So get on it. And I mostly talk
Get
about
on it. Get the cans.
all right. So we're going to start with the motion in limine because the very first part of the proceedings today, we're dealing with the motion in limine. So we'll see if I can.
So can you explain that to me?
Right. So a motion in limine is a kind of a motion to exclude. It's these pieces of evidence or this witness I
and
don't
to
want
exclude?
included
Okay.
for these reasons. So prior to trial, there's a deadline for your motions in limine, and you go through and you say all of the things. So what you do before that, just to back up even further, is you have to confer with the other side. So the Coomer side and the Lindell side have to confer on all of the witnesses and all of the exhibits, and the court and the rules encourage everybody to agree. So you have to come to all of the things that you can agree on, and then whatever you can't agree on, you bring to the court in a motion in limine. So prior, they'll go through, and if there's evidence that they agree on, there's no objection to it, they'll stipulate it. And what that means is usually at the beginning of the trial, the judge will deal with the stipulated evidence and admit it. And so then you don't have to lay the foundation and all of the things to get the evidence admitted. Anything that's contentious or, needs to be brought in through a witness that, the one side or the other thinks they're going to be able to dispute at trial, they probably won't stipulate to that. They'd put it in a motion in limine. The judge will rule on that. So she ruled on the motion in limine. And I don't know when this date was that it came down. It says it on the signature block, I'm sure. This says May 9th. So maybe that was it. The matter before the court on plaintiff's motion in limine, there's a bunch of stuff in here. Some of it's granted. Some of it is denied. And I think I'll read this intro bit, the background of the case, just so everybody's on the same page.
Perfect.
So the court has previously discussed the background. Per the pending motion, here's the summary. Plaintiff Eric Coomer has sued defendants Mike Lindell, Frank Speech, and MyPillow, together defendants, for their claims that Dr. Coomer, a former employee of Dominion Voting Systems, Inc., participated in efforts to interfere with the 2020 presidential election. Plaintiffs allege that defendants published false and defamatory statements which originated from non-party Joseph Oltmann, and he is a witness in the case and expected to testify as soon as tomorrow, potentially. The plaintiff told an Antifa conference call that he had, quote, made sure that President Donald J. Trump would not win the 2020 presidential election. Plaintiff proceeds to trial on 3 claims. 1, defamation. 2, intentional infliction of emotional distress. And 3, civil conspiracy. He alleges that defendants' conduct has provoked an onslaught of harassment and credible death threats issued against him, such that he is at risk in his home or in going to work. His presence puts his family, friends, colleagues, and his community in danger. I probably wouldn't argue that, but I don't think it's Mike Lindell's fault. Dr. Coomer further alleges he has, quote, suffered significant actual and special damages, including without limitation, harm to his reputation, emotional distress, stress, anxiety, lost earnings, and other pecuniary loss. In his motion in limine, Dr. Coomer seeks to preclude defendants from introducing several categories of evidence at trial. That includes evidence of 1, Dr. Coomer's September 2021 motor vehicle accident. So if you guys are interested in this case and you didn't watch Why We Vote on Friday, we went through all of this background. So all of the things that in this motion, these categories of evidence that are being either admitted or excluded, granted or excluded, the actual artifacts we showed on Why We Vote. on Friday. So the video of him, so Eric Coomer, the car crash, the September 21st car crash, is Eric Coomer drove his car into the side of a building in the middle of the day, and Sedalia Sedalia, I think. Sedalia or Salida. I always mix those two up. And they're very far apart. So that's really bad on me. But drove his car into the side of a building, fled the scene, parked his car away, ran down to the bar, and allegedly at that point in which he was told at the bar.
Wait, he was what?
He owns it, or he manages it. The bar.
Oh,
The
okay.
Fitz, I think it's called. And so when he's approached by the police, he denies having anything to do with it. The police are like, we have a witness, several witnesses that saw a guy in a blue plaid shirt fleeing the scene. And Eric Coomer looks down at his shirt and looks up and he's like, I don't know anything about it. Lies for a while until his attorney shows up at the scene. And then he decides to tell the truth, starts crying. Just Google me. You'll understand. I'm in a lot of stress, but I definitely wasn't drunk when I drove my car into the side of the building. I did a couple shots afterwards.
Nice.
And apparently that was enough. He admitted, and this is all on, body cam footage. You can watch it on Why We Vote. Thank you, One Person, One Vote, for putting the link in the chat. That's awesome of you. So we played that. So that's the first category, is the video, the body cam. Now here's the thing about motion in limine and evidence generally. Even if it's excluded, if the one side that wants it excluded opens the door to it, and the defense can use it, or the other side can use it to impeach a witness, meaning to show that a witness is lying on the stand. If then it can come in. And so just because it's excluded at this point doesn't mean that it's definitely not going to see the light of day in trial, because there are things that can happen at trial that can make it come in. And again, to everybody, if you're new to this and just watching us, I'm not an attorney. I did defend myself in federal court, so I broadly know the rules, but people study these rules in school for years. And I watched a bunch of YouTube videos and read the rule books and then won at trial. I mean, I defended myself and I won. So that's an important detail. But I'm telling you my understanding. And if there's attorneys in the chat that are, think I have it wrong, please put that in the chat and let me know and I'll correct the record. But I'm giving you the best that I got. Right.
Nice.
But just want to make it clear that, this is the world, it's my understanding of things and I could be wrong. All right. So the first category is the 2021 motor vehicle accident. The second category is Dr. Coomer's sex life. So this evidence is, he had I don't know if it was a blog or he was, his personal diary or whatever, but he put it on Facebook, publicly for his friends to see. And it's basically like BDSM stuff with his wife, and it sounds consensual. I mean, they're divorced now, so who knows? But it's pretty gross. We went through it in detail. It was Brian and Neil and I reading about how he told his wife to bark like a dog and stuff, and it is what it is. Some people are into that, so whatever. You do you. But that's out. I think it's right for that to be out, to be honest. It's completely irrelevant. The motor vehicle accident. I think I could see multiple paths to breathe it in. It's not CanCon. CanCon says it's not so easy live tweeting a trial, is it? It's really stressful, actually.
And I wasn't, and that's what she was doing.
I was not live tweeting because live tweeting is not allowed. And what I was doing was I was writing down what I was going to tweet. And then I went out into the hallway. The first one I did was out in the hallway. The second one and third ones that I did where I went out and posted them were actually outside the courthouse. But I talked to the clerk before the trial started over email, and he told me I could send from the hallway. So I believe that I am in full compliance with the court's order on media. And so stop saying live tweeting, Brian. You're going to get me in trouble. I was not live tweeting. And the timestamps, I think, would match up with that anyway. Okay. So then the sex life stuff. So then Dr. Coomer's drug and alcohol use. Now, this one I disagree with. Brian, you should jump on and join us because you have really strong opinions about this as well.
Yeah,
if
you should come on here.
So the drug and alcohol use is important because the reason that so Eric Coomer was withdrawing, he was in prison for heroin, for driving under the influence, and in his writings, I think it was I forget what it was, Reddit maybe.
Okay.
But on a message board, an online message board, he writes about how he was on the floor, his body was being racked with withdrawals from heroin.
Oh my god.
While he was in jail for driving under the influence. So ostensibly he was driving under the influence of heroin. He doesn't come out and directly say that. A lot of this is from a New York Times puff piece that they did on him, where they were, I think, trying to get ahead of the dossier that came out on him, which shout out to Garrett Ziegler on that. But they admit all this stuff. And, then we also have the dossier, so we know exactly what they're talking about. But he apparently talks about being on the floor in the fetal position, racked with, withdrawals, and withdrawing from drugs is a very hard thing to do. Understandable. Couple weeks later, he's off heroin and gets a cold call from Sequoia. Or is it Smartmatic? I think it's Sequoia. I have to pull it up now. Hold for processing. I have to remember where I have it. I think it's in my. I don't want to misspeak because I don't want to be sued for defamation next. So I want to make sure.
Yeah, gotta be careful. Gotta be careful.
Hold for processing. I have it here. All right. That's Eric.
Dang. Nice.
Yeah.
Real nice.
All right.
Brian said
in
it's Sequoia.
2004, at age 34, correcting all prior statements, this is what was actually written about him and what he wrote on the internal quotes. In 2004, at age 34, he wrote on a climbing message board about his struggles with heroin and cocaine and how much they had damaged his life. By then, he was on the verge of bankruptcy, had lost his marriage, and had ended up in prison after being charged with several counts of driving under the influence. Quote, now this is Eric speaking. Another bout of dry heaves racked my body as I lay on the cold cement floor of the jail cell, he wrote. Jail is no picnic under the best of circumstances. Being in jail while withdrawing from heroin is absolutely the worst I can imagine. So then in 2005, he managed to stop using heroin for good. I stayed with a friend for a week and told him to take my shoes and wallet. And then he was cured. And then she says, Susan Dominus from New York Times Magazine says, 3 months later, so not a couple of weeks, it was 3 months. 3 months later, while he was still in withdrawal, he received a cold call from someone asking if he would consider doing programming work for Sequoia, the voting machine company whose assets Dominion purchased 5 years later. So that's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
Why him? Why him?
Right.
Why? Where was his name listed such that he would get the cold call? What are the details of that? We don't know. Anyway, all of that is, go back over here. All of the drug stuff is out. Now, I think there's a case for that to be relevant, right? Because it's the origin story of how he got involved with our election systems to begin with.
Right.
And, there's definitely some questions there that could be relevant. It's also possible that they, open the door to it and it gets in.
And is it also possible that, I'm not exactly sure how this all goes down, but is there evidence you would present for a character reference per se? This doesn't really have anything to do with the case, but this has to do with the person and who we're dealing with. And I know that that's with the drug use or the car accident and things like that. So is that something that can definitely come into court, or is it just something we're just throwing this out here, but that's nothing to do with it, and we're just trying to
hold that
dirt out as we
question
can?
Because it comes up when we get into what the judge said at the beginning of court today.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so the sex life is out, the drug and alcohol use is out, religious beliefs or opinions, and opinions about law enforcement, Black Lives Matter, and related issues, and his Facebook posts about President Trump. And his Facebook posts about President Trump are, I mean, hang on, I'll just show you one. 'Cause we've got them. We've
Is it
got
like
all
major
of the
tedious?
things. Yeah. All right, here we go. Anyway, okay. So if you're watching and you have sensitive ears, just know that this is gonna offend you.
Be
So
offended.
I'm gonna read swear words. So be calm. Okay. Rant. This is Eric Coomer on, I believe, Facebook. And Eric Coomer has verified that these posts are accurate. Like he said, in the Susan Dominus article, the posts that were in the dossier are authentic, and he meant every word. Okay. Rant. July 21st, 2016. Facebook friend land open call. If you're planning to vote for that autocratic, narcissistic, fascist asshat blowhard and his Christian jihadist VP pick, unfriend me now. No, I'm not joking. I'm all for reasoned political discourse and healthy debate. I'm looking at you, and then he names some of his friends. I disagree with you three on many philosophical grounds, but I respect your opinions. Only an absolute fucking idiot could ever vote for that windbag, fucktard, fascist, racist fuck. No bullshit. I don't give a damn if you're a friend, family, or random acquaintance. Pull the lever, mark an oval, touch a screen for that carnivore barker. Unfriend me now. I have no desire whatsoever to interact with you. You are beyond hope, beyond reason. You are controlled by fear, reaction, and bullshit. Get your shit together. Oh, if that doesn't persuade you, fuck you. Seriously, this fucking ass clown stands against everything that makes a country awesome. You want in on that? You deserve nothing but contempt. Hashtag untrumped me. Untrump me. I think that hashtag might go viral. Taking a stand. Hashtag taking a stand. End rant. No, really. Unfriend me. Hashtag untrump me. Hashtag you are beyond hope. End rant. Edit. I put the tag in the wrong spot. Second edit. These opinions are rational, completely my own. They are based in reason and highly credible, though they are not necessary. The thoughts of my employer. They are not necessarily the thoughts of my employer. Side note, his employer at the time was Dominion Voting Systems. Though if not, I should probably find another job. Who wants to work for complete morons? None of my personal opinions affect my professional conduct or attitudes. I am nonpartisan. I am not, however, willing to stand by and watch this great country be taken over by fascists without saying something, anything. So those are in. The posts about President Trump are in.
Nice.
And so the jury is going to hear that. And I think the part at the end where he says, I'm not willing to stand by and watch this country go to hell. Now he's in a position to impact change in that ecosystem. He is at the time, the vice president of strategy and security for Dominion Voting Systems. And,
he looks like he's pretty biased one way. And how convenient.
Yeah.
How convenient that he's dealing with that.
Post.
Oh my gosh.
These positions are highly credible.
Yeah. So like, what's the concept of a cold call? Like, what does that mean? Like just out of the blue, somebody just said, hey, work for me.
Yeah. Yeah, so like a lot of times in like donations or if you're selling something, you make cold calls. So you get a list of potential clients or potential buyers and you just call them. And you generally have a script and whatnot. That's kind of the setup for how he was brought into US elections.
So that's his story.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice story.
3 months after withdrawing from heroin on the floor of a jail cell, an industry that is based on integrity and transparency and public trust, cold called him and asked him to come program voting machines.
He's a perfect candidate.
Well, what kind of vetting?
Don't they all do cocaine? I mean, like, in
What
all
kind of
honesty.
Done.
Oh my gosh, there is no vetting. So that is very interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting to be brought into the case. Why wouldn't they want to look into that?
This is such an excellent point. He'd quit his job and abandon his family, but he feels so passionate because he feels so, I think he means to say passionately, but he wouldn't rig the election knowing he could get away with it. Of course he would. I'm not going to stand by. That is the implication of his words. And it's not just the one post. It's a lot of posts. And it's combined with fuck the police, here, I can show you. Don't take my word for it. So that one we read was 2016. Then we get into November 7th, 2016.
Nice, Hillary.
Election. Brian, it says whoops, and now I'm wondering if I said something wrong.
No, just the typo, I think.
Okay. Oh, for the patiently thing. Gotcha. Oh, okay. So, yeah, this is, protest all you want. If Hillary had a penis, you fuckhead Czechoslovaks wouldn't have boo to say. I'd respect you more, still less if you admit the obvious. Happy voting.
This
in
guy.
The industry. A pox upon all of us in these self-inflicted end times. It's end times now, guys. But it wouldn't affect his professional conduct in any way. The world didn't need a magical, non-existing being, so God's not real, right? Just an ignorant populace and a suitable demagogue to bring the apocalypse. So he's talking about it being the apocalypse.
And he's admitting right there, an ignorant populace. If you're an ignorant populace and you had the keys to change what the ignorant populace was doing, maybe he would.
Yep. So we're into 2017 now. Here we have his playlist. NWA, fuck the police, body count, cop killer, fuck the USA, fuck the USA. A guy in the freaking voting industry. Dead Prez, cop shot. This is his playlist. Yeah.
This is great. Is this your post?
This is my article. Whoops.
This is a great. Oh man, this is great.
I wrote this back in. When did I write this? What's the date?
Yeah, we need to repost this definitely, and everybody in chat. This is very important stuff. I love how you found, because it gives you an inside look into his character and how unhinged he is.
August 2021. Yeah, super unhinged.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about.
Nightmares.
Fuck the USA. I'm going to program your voting machines now. All right. Antifa Manifesto.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think Brian and I were talking about this earlier today. I think this is in. I don't know if it is considered out under the Black Lives Matter and related matters. But one of the direct allegations in this case is a Antifa call. And so, in my opinion, this should be in. We'll see. I think.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're getting it. I can't do the sexual stuff again, so I'm skipping that. Just to understand the role he played in elections, he told an audience at the HackerOne conference in 2020, quote, "My name's Eric Coomer. I'm with Dominion Voting Systems as a director of product strategy and security. It really is my focus to develop not just new products, but also reevaluating our existing product base with the focus really on securing that the best way we can. I've also been instrumental in developing Dominion's most recent coordinated voter vulnerability disclosure policy. We released that last year. I'm the main conduit for that information that comes in. Any vulnerabilities that are reported to the company come directly to me. I manage that whole process."
Damn. He's admitting it, straight up.
Well, keep that in mind, and then we'll move on to the trial today. But keep that in mind that he's so focused on vulnerabilities and making sure that our elections are so secure. It's his number one priority. It's the number one thing he's focused on, right? But when it comes to his Facebook posts, check this out. Quote, The Facebook posts were, in fact, authentic. Why, he thought, hadn't he just deleted them? Quote, before he left for work on November 10th, Coomer checked the settings on his Facebook account. Had he been careless? Quote, he poured all his disgust and disappointment into a 200-word anti-Trump screed that he posted on Facebook. It was not intended for the general public, Coomer said. It was a lashing out. Quote, Coomer started deleting old posts, but he realized how foolishly he had put his faith in the notion of digital privacy. I have worked with so many cybersecurity professionals. None of them had Facebook, and certainly none of them would trust in Facebook's data privacy and security. That is nonsensical.
Yeah.
Except
That's total BS. So wait, he's saying he posted on Facebook and he made it so only his friends could see. Like, is that's his defense? But it's like people could take screenshots of that. People, I think, could share. But regardless, he put it out there, and that's insane. I mean,
he put it out there. He confirmed it's authentic, and he says he stands by every word. His only concern is that he didn't have the right privacy settings in his Facebook account. And also, he's responsible for security for voting machines.
Yeah.
It does. That
darn Facebook
story doesn't make sense.
Oh, gosh. Right. I love how you break this down. This is great.
So let's get into what happened at court today. And let's see if I click on these, does that show up? No, it doesn't. I have
you took these pictures, right?
Yeah,
that's great.
Yep. So Mike had a press conference out this morning. This was about 7:45 in the morning, and just to get a sense of the courthouse. Oh wait,
there's some patriots that showed up. That's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot, and a lot of support for Tina Peters as well. This is the same courthouse that I was in, so it's a little bit nostalgic.
You were brave. That's awesome.
She's not gonna fall. Calm down. Also, I saw Joan said, I'm really glad that LilyPad got her monster back. I have to tell you guys, the reason that the monster is back is because she hates her new bed, and she's a real asshole about it. Like she is basically, once I pulled back the monster and put her back in the monster, she was fine.
So it's all about the monster. The monster is like security. It's her comfort zone.
Yeah, it is. It's her binky. And Jessica Storm says, nice table. Jessica made this table out of wine grape. Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Jessica's
way to go.
Yeah, I ate there for lunch today, CanCon.
Yeah, what did you say? I definitely don't miss that place with the sandwiches across the street were fire.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
always looking at the positive side. That's good.
Good food. Good. Yep. All right. I had chicken and waffles.
Oh.
All right. So we're at the courthouse. We're gonna just go through what happened. Oh my gosh, we're 40 minutes in already. I thought we were gonna not have enough to talk about.
It's okay. You were explaining to me all this stuff, but it's good because from from a general level, it's good that you went through all this. This is great. Highly shareable, guys. Totally like it, and then definitely share it because I got a lot of good information.
I want to address this really quickly because this is important. So my darling Sheree says, isn't that sedition when you try and help overthrow a president? There is evidence he did this and admitted to it as well, said, quote, Trump won't win. I made fucking sure of it. Now, this is one of the central claims in this case. Joe Altman said that he attended an Antifa phone call, and he's, I believe, being fined $1,000 a day or $10,000 a day for not releasing the name of the source that put him on the phone call in a different court, not in this court, in a different court. Eric Coomer and the other person who is alleged to have been on the call is a reporter out of Colorado Springs called Heidi Beadle. And Heidi Beadle is also alleged to have been on the call where Eric Coomer, or Eric from Dominion is how it was set up, allegedly said Trump won't win. I made fucking sure of it. Eric Coomer and Heidi Beadle deny that ever happened and deny that the call ever took place. Now, there is, as far as I understand it, there is no recording of this call that was said. It was said that there was a recording. I think it was Sidney Powell that said that there was a recording of this call back in like 2020, like December-ish of 2020. But it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, the evidence landscape could have changed. I was, pretty involved in Colorado election stuff at the time. But the way that I understand it is that the Sidney Powell thought there was a call, or someone told her there was a call. So she said that publicly. And then Joe corrected the record and said, no, there isn't a call, but I took contemporaneous notes. So you have Joe's notebook that documents what was happening on the call. And in the middle of that is that quote and who's Eric from Dominion and that kind of stuff in his contemporaneous handwritten notes. But as far as I know it, there's not a recording of that statement of that call. So this claim that Eric Coomer said that is what he's saying is defamation. And it led to death threats against him. It led to loss of his, mental sanity, although read his Facebook post and it wasn't really saying to begin with. But that's a central part of this case, is this specific claim of this phone call, this Antifa phone call, and that he made an allegation that he was going to basically rig the election, right? Like that's what that means. I made fucking sure of it. Eric from Dominion made fucking sure of it. That's the claim. That's the claim that was made in 2020. That is what Eric Coomer is now saying is defamation in this case. So if it's true, and there is a record of it, as Cherie said in the chat, if that's true, then they should be able to prove it in court. If the claim can't be proven in court, but you can get the jury to think he credibly could have said it, and so Mike Lindell repeating what Joe said isn't necessarily defamation, then we'll see. But that is specifically what is on trial in this case.
Wow. Okay. That's why it's always important, man. Like you'll see things posted and like you're like, oh, I want to retweet that, whatever. You got to check to make sure. And even the best of us have been fooled many times.
But I mean, I don't think it's defamation anyway. I don't think it's defamation for one. So Mike Lindell in his Frank speech with his Frank speech hat on is in a journalistic capacity. Right. For him to repeat the reporting of Joe Oltmann, who's also in a journalistic capacity on Conservative Daily, I don't think that's defamation to begin with. It might be defamation against Joe, right? You might be able to get there, but I don't think you can get there on Mike. I mean, because
I've looked at all these tweeted that or said something. Exactly. You know what I mean? We like, what if I went along? Like that's what I was saying. People can be, post something without actually knowing the true background, and they shouldn't be held liable to that. I mean, we'd all be busted at one point in time. I mean,
but I don't think legal. I don't think legally that's the standard. We'll see what happens in this case.
Okay.
That's the repeating repeating reporting that's come out of a news organization. The originator of the allegedly false claim, if it's a false claim, the originator of that claim can be held accountable, I believe, for defamation. But everybody that reported on the reporting, I don't think so. I could be wrong, but it seems like a stretch. It seems like a stretch to me. All right. So we have in the thread, which I put in the chat again, the episode that Brian and I did, going back through all of the background that we just did a very quick hit on. We did like 2 hours on Friday. So if you want to check that out, the link to this is in the chat, and that show was last Friday's Why We Vote. Now, one thing that's just weird before we get into the thing today, I have no idea why. I think it's because I posted this and tagged Brian in it. And then like for a while, all of the things that are picked up in here start with CanCon. So I don't know why.
Nice.
Because apparently I don't know how to use Twitter. All right. So the first thing that came up was I believe the defense had asked the judge to reconsider the car crash information coming out, the body cam and all that stuff, which we can watch if we have time. I have it pulled up.
Oh, I would love to watch that.
Yeah, it's long. We don't have to watch all of it. We can just watch the good bits. Like there's a good summary at the end. But so she said she's not going to change her mind. She's not going to revisit her ruling on that right now. But based on what's presented at trial, her ruling can change. So if it comes in that is, important, they can use it to impeach. It becomes relevant because of other things that are brought in through other witnesses, then that can come in. Also said the objection is preserved for the record. So then we had 4 other evidence questions. The CISA statement, this is Chris Krebs, I believe, saying safest and most secure election in history, which is, as I've said many, many times on Why We Vote, not something cybersecurity professionals ever say. Safest and most secure. They also never say things like can't be hacked, votes can't be swapped. All things that this specific iteration of CISA, put out there, which was just narrative and not grounded in fact, but also is a deviation from the norms of security professionals. That statement, so the plaintiff said, CISA statement, no evidence of election fraud. Lindell says China interfered in the election. That directly belied the CISA statement, and Lindell disregarded reliable sources. The evidence of this will come in through Alex J. Halderman. The defense says this is inadmissible hearsay. The statement has been rebuked by the current DNI. Krebs had no right to make that statement, and he was fired for it. They also can't provide the necessary foundation to bring it in. She didn't, as I was in there, and I missed like 15 minutes before lunch, and I left about 40 minutes before they ended. So they might have dealt with these evidence issues at the time that this happened in the morning. She heard both of their arguments and took it under advisement. So I don't know if she's ruled on these yet. So that was the first one. The second one is the Cyber Symposium. Plaintiff says Coomer and Dominion Voting Systems did their best to take the election through China is Mike Lindell's claim. The $5 million challenge is relevant because it's going to show that the PCAPs were false, and Lindell always knew that what he was saying was false. That's their argument. They said the district court, this is a different case about the $5 million. Somebody said they won it. Lindell said they didn't, so they took him to court, and the person that said they won, but it's on appeal. And according to the defense, the appellate court indicated that the lower court and the arbitrators involved in that case basically rewrote the rules. It's one correction to the record. I said rewrite. It should say rewrote. They made the argument that it was grossly unfair to let the $5 million challenge stuff come in. And all of this is what the jury will see, right? So the judge has seen all of it. The public has seen all of it. CanCon and I have been talking about this since 2021. It's all out there. Garrett Ziegler put out the dossier, right? Everybody's seen that. Joe Altman hasn't stopped talking about what his testimony since 2020. So this information is out there. This is specifically to, will it be allowed to be presented to the jury? So at the time that this conversation was happening, there was no jurors there. It was just the parties, their counsel, and the court, and all of us in the gallery. Okay, so they said that the matter of the $5 million challenge is on appeal, and the appellate court has indicated that it might be overturned, and so it's grossly unfair to let it in, because if the jury bases part of their decision on that and then it's overturned, that's unfair. So that was the argument made on that piece. Plaintiff, the second one, January 6th. So they always want to talk about January 6th.
I know.
They talked about the notice of danger that Mike Lindell caused with his statements specific danger to Dr. Coomer and Matt Crane and the Colorado clerks were harmed because of things that Mike Lindell said on January 6th and the subject of January 6th broadly. The defense said this is irrelevant. It's preposterous to even consider this. And the only reason you're trying to bring this in is to unfairly prejudice the jury.
Yep.
And then the last one was the settlement with Newsmax. The plaintiff's position is that after the settlement with Newsmax, Mike Lindell should have known that his claims were false, and he continued to defame Dominion and Coomer after Newsmax retracted their reporting. They say Lindell's assertions about a Newsmax deal preventing Lindell from coming on is also alleged to be defamatory. So Mike Lindell has said this, and he said this like as recently as last week, that Newsmax made a deal with as a part of this settlement, or as a spoken, not written part of this settlement, Mike Lindell wasn't allowed to come back on the network. Now, I believe Emerald Robinson confirmed that she was working at Newsmax at the time, and that the interview that I saw was Emerald and Mike Lindell, and that there was, I think she either like confirmed it or, got kind of there saying that it wouldn't be surprising, something like that. Folks can go back and watch that, but it'll be interesting to see A, if this comes in, and B, how it is addressed and used. The defense's point was not to say this can't come in, but that they want instructions for the jury that in the Newsmax settlement, Newsmax did not admit any liability. They didn't have any wrongdoing found. It was just a consent decree, and that the jury can't consider Newsmax's settlement as evidence that elections are, totally free and fair, and that it was defamation specifically, because that's the claim. That's the what he's on trial for. And so the judge said, I want to see your limine instruction in writing and your legal authority that you're asking me to consider it under. He said the legal authority was Rule 105. I think we can. Oh no, it's going to be too hard to get to it. It's like under a bunch of books. I was going to pull the rule book out.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
So the judge took all of that on advisement and said, we're going to rule later because I really want to get to jury selection. They had some objections to redactions of information. She said she'd talk about that later. I didn't hear that discussed. They took a break, and that was when I sent the first batch. So all that stuff we just read through, I sent that on the first break. So then we come back. So they've got in the courtroom, the right side, the defense side, is the back two rows are full of observers in the gallery. The first two rows are left empty for jurors. The whole other side of the courtroom is jurors, and then they have 14 of them selected at random in the jury box.
Okay.
And you go through the process of jury selection. This was very interesting to see. And some of the things were kind of funny. So we'll go through. So judge entered. Now, at this point, they're not allowed to talk about things that aren't in or out and all those kinds. They have to be very careful because the jury is in the room, right? So she talks about, there's weird bits about masking. The clerk of the court had a mask on, and one of the jurors was wearing a mask. And there was a discussion, like, even if you have a tickle in your throat, if you just feel a little tickle in your throat, please let us know and we'll give you a mask.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that was weird.
No.
It was like, are we doing this again?
We're not doing this again.
It was like in my head, I'm like, did you guys ever stop? Or like, has this been going on for you since?
Maybe they did. Maybe they did it. Oh my god!
I mean, some of them are still learning. All right. So she goes through. She introduces the case and the parties, a summary of the case, instructions about masking, as I said. Again, just randomly tagging CanCon on every tweet. Judge asked if jurors knew her or her staff. Nobody did. She read a statement on the importance of jury duty and jury trials. That's a part of our, process, et cetera, et cetera. she read the case overview, summary of the parties, and then we started with jury selection. Now in civil trial, you get 8 jurors, and there was about 52, I believe, is the number that we gave in the room. And they go through different sets of questions, and it's, you're designed to kind of weed out people that aren't a fit. The first questions are like the basic things. It's determinative. If you can't do any of these things, you can't. If you aren't or can't, then you can't serve on a jury. So, are you a citizen? They all were. Are you over 18? They all were. Read or write? Can you read and write and understand English? One juror raised her hand. No, she spoke fine. The judge asked her some more questions. It was like, she's like, English is my second language. We all understood what she was saying, and the judge said, well, can you read English? She said, yes. Can you write English? Yes. She was like, I'm afraid I might miss something or like not get it all. That was how I took her, like her concern was that because it's my second language, I'm going to miss something. The judge didn't seem concerned about it. And so she stayed. I don't know if she was seated, and I'll talk about why that is in a few minutes. Okay. The next question was, any reason you can't serve on the jury? One guy says he can't because work and financial. He used his last $10 for financing. That should say for parking.
No.
Yeah. Correct the record. That should say for parking. Judge asked him to wait until the question about undue burden, which comes up later. So he comes up again, and I believe he was dismissed. So after that first set of questions, then the counsel approached. They did a sidebar. They didn't dismiss anybody at that point. She reiterated, this is 10-day trial set to end on June 13th. You're going to have to be here from 9 to 4 or 4:30. And so then you get into the undue hardship questions. So they asked it just of the 14 people seated first. And one guy said financial hardship for 10 days. He works for an airline. He's not compensated for time at jury duty. It's impact to his financials, not just, the lost income, but there's additional burdens. He was dismissed. The who can't stay for the full time, 2 people raised their hands. If this is way too detailed, let me know. I found this whole process to be really interesting. So this one guy was like, I have a test tomorrow. I have an exam tomorrow. And, I'm getting ready to start school. And the judge is like, well, do you have to do the test between 9 and 5? And he's like, well, it's an online test. I guess I can do it out of 9 to 5. And she's like, okay, sit down. And the second person had a family trip. Plus, he's a reality TV show runner, and he has a possible contract that would start immediately. He'd be missing the opportunity, and that would be a harm for him financially because he, hasn't worked since January. Can't remember if I think he might have been dismissed. I think he was dismissed, but for a different reason. And there was a few of those that you could Charity and I were joking, like, it seems like you can tell the people that want to get out of jury duty.
Yes.
They have anytime she's like, do you have undue hardship? They're like, yep. And it's like, okay, well, you really don't have undue hardship. Do you have this? Yep. No, you really don't have this. And there was a few of those. That was kind of funny. And then there's a third person. Her husband was out of town. She had no alternative for childcare, and the times don't work. Like, she had to, pick up her child at 5, and it's an hour away, but she would have to be there between 4 and 4:30. And so it didn't work out. I believe she was dismissed. Yeah. The airline employee and the mom were dismissed. The other 2 had to stay. And then 2 new jurors were seated. They were asked the same questions. One of them just had started an internship in wind acquisition.
What's that?
I mean, chasing after wind is like a whole section of something that King Solomon wrote. Ecclesiastes, maybe. But yeah, I thought that was funny. Wind acquisition.
Wow.
Yeah. Can't afford to miss work. Company doesn't compensate for jury duty. The counsel approached, and the wind acquisition guy was excused. So then a new person was called up. He had no hardship. So then we get into, this was one of my favorites. And we get into physical limitations. So like hearing, eyesight back, mobility issues, 2 jurors raised their hand. The first was a lady, and I think she might have been seated on the jury. Charity and I were trying to remember just, before the show started, we were talking about it, trying to remember if she was seated. I think she might have been seated. She said she has spinal disc issues, and it's really hard to sit for long periods of time. She takes meds for her back. She could stand in the back of the jury box when she gets uncomfortable, and that seemed to be enough for the judge. The second guy had a neck fusion.
Oh
And
my
he's like, I get
gosh.
headaches and nausea and pain every single day. And he's like, I'll throw up from my headaches. And the judge, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but the judge is like, like what, like how often do you throw up, or how often do you get sick from your headaches? And he's like, at least twice a week. And she says, well, what do you do for it? Is there anything that you can do? Well, first that he says, I don't take medication for it. And she says, do you have a headache now? He says, yes. I can't focus. It's hard. And she's like, is there anything that you can do to alleviate your headache? And he's like, not here. And she goes, well, what would you do? And he says, THC.
Yeah,
He was dismissed. He was dismissed and replaced with another. You can't get stoned if you're on a jury,
can't have
allegedly. So he was
my
replaced with a new juror. New juror also sought
Well
to be
played,
excused.
man.
His very pregnant wife was on bed rest. She was diagnosed with preeclampsia. Their first child was 5 weeks early. It's like any day. It's very concerning. He lives like an hour away. They're on baby watch. So he was excused, replaced with a new juror. And this was like, this is probably like 40 minutes.
This should be like a movie. Like everybody brings in. It's like, well, actually, I've got something that's crazy happening right now. I gotta go. Like everybody.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. So then that first guy that she said, wait until the undue hardship question comes up. He was then called in, and he's like, I can't even afford the parking. I really can't miss work. I'm an hourly employee. I don't have jury compensation. This is literally an undue hardship on me, and it's going to really mess up my life. So he was excused, replaced with a new juror. That juror sought to be excused.
Oh my God.
And this is one of the ones, I think she was finally, she figured out how to crack it. But this gal was like, I think she was trying to get out of jury duty. She was like, I just graduated and I'm just getting ready to start my teaching, summer school. It's part of my contract. The judge says, well, does your employer, just the school district, compensate you for jury duty? She's like, I think so. And so the judge is like, no, you're not excused. So she was not excused at that point. Then we get into the specific voir dire. So we get into voir dire is the questioning process, and you can do it with jurors, you can do it with expert witnesses, and but it's get more information about this person before you approve or deny them kind of process. So has anybody read media about the trial? One person raised their hand. There was a sidebar with the juror and counsel. And this is like, they don't just ask them all of these questions in front of the other jurors because they don't want to bias them. So they bring the specific juror in question up to a sidebar. And what they do, Brian can attest to this, they turn on this white noise in the courtroom. So you don't really hear anything except for static while they're having a sidebar conversation.
That's
so
cool.
the one person that said that they had read media about the trial was excused. A new juror was called in. As that new juror was being called in, 3 other people raised their hands and they were like, I should have said yes about media coverage. They called them up one after the other. One juror was dismissed. I don't remember which one. And a new juror was called in their place. So then it was, do you have issue with the subject matter in the case where you might not be able to be fair? One of the jurors was offended by Mike Lindell's political activities. And the judge said, well, can you set aside your opinions? And the juror said, probably not. I could not put aside my personal feelings. The second one was one juror that was wearing a mask. And she had pink hair, and, everybody saw this juror and like had the same thought. Right. But I have to say, I was actually pretty impressed with her because she was pretty honest. She
It's
was,
good.
she's like, I don't think I can set aside my feelings. I don't think that I can be impartial. I'm pretty liberal and I have really strong opinions about everything in this. So they call her up to a sidebar, and then she was excused. And the guy that said he couldn't put aside his feelings were excused. But then the third one said the same. I don't think I can remain impartial. A fourth one said the same. Those two were brought up. One of them was the same lady, the teacher lady that wasn't excused the first time.
Oh yeah.
She said, so she raised her hand on this as well. She was not excused. She was told to sit back down. Yeah, I know. We're rooting for her. We're rooting for her to get out of jury duty by the end because she really put in the effort for it. So they had, a sidebar with all of the counsel on those 4 jurors. 2 of them were excused and the 2 of them weren't. So then they did a break. I loaded in all of those into Twitter and published that. Then they came back after lunch. We ran across to get lunch because the lunch breaks are short and the lunch line is usually long, and we hadn't had breakfast. So I was like, I need to eat or I'm going to pass out. And I missed whatever happened in that 30 minutes. We came back from lunch. The jurors were asked about social media. What sites do you watch? How often do you use them for news? It was, it ran the spectrum, Reddit, Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. And I think I'm trying to remember if anybody said they use social media for news. I think 1 or 2 might have, but it wasn't material enough. So then they had questions about serving on a jury in the past. Do you have training in law that would impact your ability? And her question about that, because there was the one guy is a inactive attorney and he works in business now, but he had, he was a practicing attorney back in the day. Another person had done something in the legal realm. I think it was in her studies. She'd, studied political science and there was a concentration with law within that. And the question the judge was asking is, if I give you a specific instruction on this is what the law means and this is how you have to apply the law in this case, are you going to be able to follow that, or is your own training in law going to get in the way? That was really the question. And they said it wouldn't get in the way. One of them said absolutely it would be the opposite. I will absolutely defer to your guidance, etc. Feelings about lawsuits and corporations. Are you able to be impartial? Do you think do you have a moral opposition to people suing for money? Those kinds of questions were asked. Then the judge explained the burden, which is the preponderance of the evidence. It's also referred to colloquially as the 51% standard. And it really comes down to, so Eric Coomer has the burden. He just has to get to 51% likeliness. That what he's saying is true, what he's alleging is true, that Mike Lindell defamed him, intended to intentional cause of emotional distress, and that he conspired with others to do it. You have to get the jury to the 51% standard. So 51%, it's more likely than not. So we're not dealing with reasonable doubt like you are in criminal court. We're dealing with the preponderance of the evidence standard. What else? Okay, so now so that was all the judge. There's the judge asking the jurors questions. So now we get into the plaintiff attorneys and the defense attorneys asking the jurors questions. This was pretty interesting. So the first set of questions was like, did you see Mr. Lindell had a press conference outside? Did you see the signs? Did you read the signs? Some people said they saw the signs, but they didn't read them. Nobody heard Mike speak, but pretty much everyone except for 1 or 2 jurors noticed that he was out there. One juror said that they had a positive opinion of Mr. Lindell. She likes MyPillow. She supports Mr. Lindell, but she can't specifically say why. Now, which juror do you think that was?
Is that the one I was trying to get out? Oh, she's like,
and that
I know
did
how to
it.
get out of this.
It did
I
it.
know how to get.
She cracked it. She cracked the nut. She tried every single way, and in the end, she won.
I like this guy.
So then another person said they like the pillows, have a positive opinion of Mr. Lindell. Have you ever seen Mr. Lindell speak outside of pillow commercials? No. Does anybody believe the election was rigged against President Trump? Nobody said yes. The attorney asked a specific juror if he believed the was rigged against President Trump. He said no. He asked it again against everyone. He said nobody said that they believed the election was rigged. So then he was asked 2016, 2020, and 2024. Does anybody believe that any of these elections were rigged against President Trump? Nobody said yes. Do you agree? Do you agree with the term "the big lie"
Oh,
in
gosh.
reference to the idea that elections are rigged? Do you agree that the idea that elections are rigged is the big lie? So the first guy's like, no, both parties have claimed that elections are rigged. The second person, there was then two people that were like, no, I don't follow politics, so I don't know anything about this. I don't have enough information to give you an answer. I don't know. And that was, interesting. They were asked if they had Truth Social accounts or Parler accounts. The answer was no for everyone. Did you watch Fox or Newsmax during the 2020 election? One person said yes, but they didn't consume it all, but they saw it in their environment, right? People had Fox and Newsmax on, but they weren't really watching the news. It was just on everywhere during the 2020 election, which we can all confirm that, right?
Yeah.
It was consuming. And it was, the COVID election.
Oh,
So, yeah. Do you follow Rudy Giuliani or Sidney Powell? The person says, are they on Fox News? I thought it was so funny.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Most people said they didn't remember ever hearing Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell. Are you familiar?
Oh,
She was gonna fall.
my
okay?
goodness.
You all right? She's fine.
Oh, God.
Oh, Peta's gonna give me a call.
Oh. Is she
All
okay?
right. She's fine. She's looking at me. She's
Okay.
wiggling. She's good. All right. Sorry, that threw me off. Okay. Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani. No, nobody really knew who they were. Didn't listen to them. I know, Artsy Joan. I know you're probably mad at me now, and it's fine. You have a right to be. You have a right to be.
No, it's okay.
I'll make it up to her.
Animals do stuff. It's not your fault.
She took a leap of faith. Yeah. Oh, she's fine. I promise she's fine. She's totally fine. Okay. Are you familiar with Tina Peters? One person was familiar with Tina Peters, had a very negative opinion of her, but said that it wouldn't impact her testimony. And I believe that person was dismissed. Are you familiar with Joe Oltmann? Nobody was familiar with Joe Oltmann. Are you familiar with the Cyber Symposium in August of 2021? Nobody was familiar with it. How involved are you in politics? One person said, well, our family was really turned off to politics because my father was the treasurer and something. And so we were all really turned off. But then as he was asked more questions, it was, well, my brother ran for office and I was involved in this for a little while. And then it was but we all really are off on politics. And he said he had no bias. So I don't know. And I don't know if he, the reason that I don't know if all these people were seated was because when we came back in after lunch, we were in the overflow room, and the overflow room you're looking at a screen and they don't show the jury.
See.
So we saw if people were walking up to the court or walking back, we saw who they were, and so was able to identify. I know a couple of people definitely made it because I know their names, and I saw that they were seated back down and called on the final jury, but I don't know all these people if they were seated or not. And I was really trying not to do anything identifiable,
right,
names or numbers, anything like that, jury number or jury name. I didn't write that down because that just feels wrong to me. Let's see what else. When I say J6ers, do you know what I'm talking about? Who I'm talking about? Person says, I know the date, but not the label. An attorney then explained J6 and asked if the people were patriots or criminals. And he asked pretty much everybody this. First person said, I don't think that they were patriots. And then he said, do you agree with the pardon of them, President Trump's pardon? And he said, I think President Trump did what he thought was right. The next juror agreed with Trump's pardon. Do you agree with calling J6ers patriots or criminals? I wrote yes here. I don't remember what the right answer was. He might have just said yes. to that question. So I don't know. Juror being one of the jurors was pressed on the First Amendment. This guy was a surprise, and a pleasant surprise, because he kind of looked like a leftist, like he had that look about him. And one of my friends actually said, "Oh, he looks like a little mini Coomer." She turned out to be super fucking based. He said, "What limits do you believe should be placed on the First Amendment?" And he says, "Anything to do with treason." And so the attorney says, "So if somebody's speech is treasonous, is that the line?" And he said, "No." And they didn't really go further on that. Asked another question, another juror, the same questions. He said, "No, I think they're criminals." Should violent speech and violent propaganda be protected under the First Amendment? Everybody said no. And my question is, what the hell is violent propaganda?
Yeah, because see, it's already labeling it. It just should be speech.
No, but what does that mean? What is violent propaganda? And this question was asked several times.
Yeah, so they would have had to have a definition, of the person putting that out. What do you consider violent propaganda and speech?
And nobody asked.
Oh,
and
no.
in the back going, what the hell is violent propaganda? That's not a thing. What are we even doing? All right. So then they're asked, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Sorry, I skipped one. Does anyone else have strong thoughts on the First Amendment and its limits? Should violent rhetoric and violent propaganda be protected? No. Can you define violent propaganda? Nobody asked that
Exactly.
Intentional infliction of emotional distress. Are you concerned about deciding on that? One lady talked about her stalker in college and that she understands emotional distress, which, that would certainly cause it. Having a stalker would certainly cause emotional distress. Have you heard the term lawfare before? Nobody had, which is just weird.
Oh, no.
That's just weird. Yeah. Are you offended by Mr. Coomer bringing a civil case? No. Do you think that there are too many lawsuits? Yes. And everybody laughed. And the attorney was like, well, that's fair. All right. So then we get it. So that was the plaintiff attorney. That was Coomer's attorneys asking the questions. And then Mike Lindell's attorneys got to ask the question. And the first question was, do you have a negative view of MAGA? And this one lady, she was a professor at DU, and she says, as a historian, I find Make America Great Again offensive. She talked about how she believed that it was calling back, the mainstream narrative that we get told, right? It's hearkening back to the darkest days in history. And when people say they want to make America great again, it must be that they mean they want Jim Crow and shit. That was seen. I'm not quoting these people directly. These are contemporaneous notes with my thumbs that I took, but what? Yeah. Professor.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Did anyone work in politics in 2016? One said that she was a journalist in 2016. She did all the election coverage in 2016 and didn't recall Hillary Clinton claiming the election was stolen.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
This is so bad. Why are you there? You can't even remember?
To be fair, you don't want jurors that are experts in the case. Right? You don't want a jury that's going to have a bias because they know so much about it. You want a jury that's going to take just the facts, the evidence, and the law before them and rule on that. That's why they're not allowed to watch media coverage. It's what, that they're not allowed to go outside of the facts, the evidence, and the law in the courtroom. So you want that, but also Hillary Clinton denied the fucking election for a year and a half, wrote a book about it, went on podcasts and said Trump was an illegitimate president. And the person saying she doesn't recall that was a journalist in 2016, specifically covering elections.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Does anyone have a negative opinion of Donald Trump? One juror said he worked in steel and he was mad about tariffs. And he was like, this is really important because, steel industry, these tariffs are making everything go up. And then the follow-up question was, well, what do you think about the U.S. Steel announcement? I don't know anything about it. Okay.
I'm just gonna be
Another
angry about something.
Another juror said that he was Trump was everything my dad said not to be, and he sounded old. Like he's like talking about his dad, who was probably like born in the 1800s, and I mean that because he sounded old enough to have a parent that was born in the 18, like my parents, old enough to have parents born in the 1800s, right? So this guy was asked, like, what does that mean? What does your dad say? Well, he's a liar and a cheat and a thief and this and that. And then the attorney said, has Donald Trump done anything good? No. Okay.
Wow.
Another juror said that they had a strong distaste for Trump because she's from a red area of Detroit, and she went back and like her family really supports him, and everything feels super icky, and she hates like how much support there is in her hometown for Trump. And then if Mike Lindell is a good friend of Donald Trump, does that impact your opinion of him? And this is that same juror. And she said, yes, but this isn't my opinion. I'll try really hard not to let it. Okay. Does anyone have a positive view of Antifa? No one responded. Did anyone hear that the 2016 election was rigged or stolen? No one did. Had anyone heard that Elon Musk hacked the 2024 election for Donald Trump? One juror said, yes, he did hear that, but he couldn't recall where he heard it.
Wow.
Is anyone disappointed that this case doesn't have anything to do with January 6th? I love that question. No one responded. Does anyone have a negative opinion of Mike Lindell? No one responded. The counsel approached. They did a sidebar. The judge called the juror that defended the First Amendment up to the sidebar. That was the one that was like, we thought it was the Mini Coomer, and we were surprised at how based he was. He stayed. He's on the jury. Yeah.
Nice.
2 jurors were excused for cause. 2 new jurors came up. They were asked a bunch of questions. One of them had a funeral on the 10th, family vacation on the 13th. She was excused. The second one had no issues or conflicts. So they brought up another juror to replace the one that had the family vacation. They had 10 more minutes per side to voir dire the new jurors. Same questions as before. First one leaned positive on Lindell, bought his products, nothing on the politics, just really liked My Pillow. Are J6ers patriots or criminals? I believe they thought they were justified. By the way, when it says, like, when we get to the 10 more minutes per side, we're starting with the plaintiffs again. So plaintiffs are asking the questions of the 2 new jurors. Positive on Lindell, bought the products. Are J6ers patriots or criminals? I believe they thought they were justified, but they crossed a line. They said, oh, you think they crossed a line? And she said, well, some of them crossed a line, but as a group, I don't think that they crossed a line. Person had no opinion on voting machines. The second person was not familiar with Mike Lindell or My Pillow, had no opinion on voting machines, no research, but heard about the controversy on voting machines, didn't have their own opinion or firsthand information. J6ers, patriots, or criminals, no opinion, no knowledge of Cyber Symposium, opinions on the First Amendment. I think freedom of speech is a positive thing. What about violent rhetoric? No opinion because I don't know. Can violent propaganda be dangerous? Yes. What is violent propaganda? Didn't get asked.
We need to find a definition.
Did you see the press conference? Yes. Did you hear it? No. Did it impact you? No. Do you know who Tina Peters is? No. Do you know who Rudy Giuliani or Sydney is? No. Do you listen to Joe Rogan? One podcast on health and wellness she had listened to on Joe Rogan, just like one Joe Rogan podcast. The defense didn't have any questions for those 2 witnesses. They went up to do a sidebar with the judge, and I'm going fast now because we're running out of time. Totally thought we were going to not have enough content to fill the time. So the defense had no questions. So then they were asked, do you understand do you understand all the questions you've been asked? Do you want to change any of your answers? And do you want to raise anything that like you don't want to talk about in front of everybody else? Do you want to come up here and raise something that bugs you about this that you think will impact your ability to serve on the jury? All 14 people, and there's 14 at the time, all 14 people answered, yes, I understand. And no, I don't want to change. No, I don't have anything to raise. So then they get into the preemptive strikes. So they each get 3, I believe, according to the rules. So you have 14 jurors and you need to get to 8. and you have
the
three per
whittling
side
way.
that get to be struck. So they struck 6 of the jurors. There's a couple that were, like I said, you know, the based guy, he made it on. I think the woman that had the spinal fusion issues and like had to stand up from time to time, I think she's on the jury, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
Like,
dang.
I feel bad for her because
I
sitting, that's
know.
like 40 hours of sitting. Yeah.
I
And
hope they're good
so
and
that, and then
pushing.
I didn't get to see the last like 40 minutes because we had to get on the road, had to get home to do this. And also it looks like a bomb went off in my house. So I have to go clean it. But yeah, I mean, that was day 1. And it's pretty
That was
good.
good.
And I'm like,
That was
I want to go
great.
back. I
Great,
want to go back.
great record
Yeah.
keeping of everything. And
Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, I don't think anybody else did any in-depth reporting on this. So that's super awesome. And yeah, well, if you
local
go back,
journalists here
that'd be great.
did. Local journalists wrote up, like there was, you know, 9 News people, Denver Post people. They were in the courtroom with us, and I saw some of their reporting afterwards that that they put out. I mean, it wasn't, you know, a play-by-play. It was a summary, and you know, probably more consumable than my play-by-play. But
That was great. That was great.
Right?
Everybody loves it. Great work.
Thank you
That's
so much.
awesome.
Appreciate it. We have some Rumble rants, which is awesome. So we'll read those. We don't have any boosts. If you're watching this on replay and you would like to support us, on the replay, you can go to badlandsmedia.tv/boost and leave us a boost over there. We'll read it during next week's show. Rumble rants, we've got Becky says, I want to go back tomorrow. I got to see Becky today and give her a hug. I didn't get to talk to her for long, but I got to give her a quick hug. It was great to see you, and thank you so much for the rant. D Patriot 1776, prayers for Mike. Thanks for covering this, Ash. Missed you at the New Jersey meetup, Abby. Much love to you both.
Oh,
Thanks,
yeah, I know. I was jealous. Brad got to go though, so that was good.
Yeah, I saw that. It looks like fun. I love those meetups. 3 Dogs, 1 Cat says, so glad you were there to cover this trial. Love both of you ladies. And yeah, you're the best. Thank you so much. We definitely appreciate you. And G Fontes 119, whatever you do, son, don't be successful, wealthy, and you better not be any good at golf. By the way, don't spend time with super hot women. Is that everything your dad told you?
Maybe.
Maybe it's a song lyric. Is that a song lyric?
I don't know, but it feels like there could be a song in there.
Yeah.
Whatever you do,
All right.
son.
Well, Baseless Conspiracies is coming up in 2 minutes. And so we're going to raid over there. We are going to play our super badass outro. Though. Oh, Tattoo Teacher, for White Claws mixed with juice or wine, make a spritzer or just buy what you like. Thank you so much. And the wine, so I've bitched about lime White Claws and they're super gross. But if you put a little cranberry juice, it's a nice
It's a
cocktail.
secret.
Yeah. If you have a spritzer that you don't like the flavor of, just pour a little juice in there and you'll be all right.
Nice.
It's our hot tip. All right. So we'll be back here next week at 9 p.m. Eastern on Monday. We'll also have a live Alpha's Big Sandwiches next week, I believe. Although
that was
maybe
fun,
we
though.
won't. Maybe I'll still be in the courtroom.
Well,
Entirely possible. But yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Remember that change happens one conversation at a time. So be brave and speak the truth. Stay tuned for Baseless Conspiracies coming up next, guys. Bye.
As the expression goes, be careful what you wish for. In my former life, I was an insider as much as anybody else. And I knew what it's like, and I still know what it's like to be an insider. It's not bad. Not bad. Now I'm being punished for leaving the special club and revealing to you the terrible things that are going on having to do with our country. Because I used to be part of the club, I'm the only one that can fix it. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again. Because you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to take us out. And it's not going to work. Not going to work. Not going to work. It's not going to work. We're just getting started. The drug cartels are waging war in America, and we will destroy the cartels. You have no choice. That's an army. And I'll use Title 42 to end the child trafficking crisis by returning all trafficked children to their families in their home countries immediately. Never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom, because I will never let them take away your freedom. I won't. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they are not after me. They're after you. I'm just standing in their way. I always will. And I will fully protect and uphold our great and very important under siege Second Amendment. We will protect. We will protect innocent life, and we will restore free speech, and I will secure our elections. We will secure our elections. If we don't, we are a country in trouble. Our goal will be one day voting with paper ballots and voter ID. Very simple. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school at all, pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto the lives of our children. And I will not give one penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. When I was coming down the escalator with Melania, I was already under investigation because they saw how well I was doing in the polls. And it just got worse and worse. And we caught them. We said they were spying on our campaign. It turned out to be true. They had the fake dossier. That turned out to be true. It was paid for by the Democrat Party. It was all fiction. All of these things happened. Impeachment hoax number one, impeachment hoax number two. I've been treated very badly. And I've won every single time. When you say, do I sleep? I sleep. I sleep. Because I truly feel that in the end, we're going to win. I think we're going to win an election the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. I don't think anything's going to stop it. Nothing's going to stop it. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president. And every citizen, I will fight for you, for your family, and your future. Every single day I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve. This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have.